The stars above Station Thalos 3 never changed. They stayed still, cold, and distant, just like the people living under them. In, a quiet human in his early 30s, lived alone in the old maintenance district of the station. He fixed broken drones, cleaned junk cargo haulers, and minded his own business. He didn't make friends. He didn't ask questions. That was how you survived here. Every morning started the same way. He'd drink weak coffee, sit at his workbench, and power up the old drone cores. But today was different. Something was waiting outside his small metal door. It was a crate, medium-sized, gray. No labels, no tracking code, nothing. Just a smooth, sealed box sitting there like it had always belonged. Ren looked around the hallway, empty. No cameras turned his way. He made sure of that years ago. He crouched down and ran his fingers along the crate's edge. It wasn't locked. The seal was magnetic, easy to open, but strange. Why leave it outside his door? He tapped the side of it. No response. He pressed a small tool under the lid and heard the soft click of the seal breaking. The top lifted slowly. Cool air escaped from inside. And then, the glowing eyes looked up at him. Ren froze. Inside was a small figure, curled up like a child hiding under a blanket. Thin arms, trembling, pale blue skin. Faint patterns ran across her cheeks like faded tattoos. Her silver hair was tangled and messy. She was covered in a thin sheet that barely looked warm. She blinked at him, afraid. Then she whispered, "Please, don't let them find me." Her voice was quiet, tired. It wasn't a command. It wasn't a threat. It was a plea. Ren's first thought was to close the crate, pretend he hadn't seen anything. Leave it for someone else to deal with. That was the safe choice. But something about her eyes made him stop. They weren't angry. They weren't begging for money or food. They were just scared. He stood up, looked down the hall again, then carefully pulled the crate inside and shut the door. The room was small but warm. Ren's tools were neatly placed on shelves. A small bed sat against the far wall, and a worn blanket hung over the only window. The hum of the station's systems buzzed softly through the metal walls. The girl, no. The alien sat quietly inside the crate. She didn't move, didn't speak, just watched him. Ren knelt beside her and held out a bottle of water. "Here," he said. She looked at the bottle like it was made of fire, then slowly reached out and took it. Her fingers were thin and shaking. She drank quickly, like she hadn't had water in days. "What's your name?" Ren asked. She paused, then said, "Luma." He nodded. "I'm Ren." For a moment, silence filled the room again. Then he said, "Why were you in that crate?" Luma looked down. Her voice shook as she answered. "They were taking me away, to a market. I heard them say I was worth more if I stayed quiet." Ren's heart tightened. He understood. Some species were treated like objects out here, traded, sold. The outer systems didn't follow Earth's laws. They barely followed any laws. "Where are you from?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "My planet is gone. They took many of us. I was small. I grew up in cages." Her words were simple, flat, like she had said them many times before. Ryan didn't know what to say. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't part of any rebellion. He just fixed machines. But right now, someone had trusted him, someone who had no reason to. "You're safe here," he said, finally. "At least for now." Luma blinked slowly. Then she nodded. The hours passed quietly. Ren gave her a blanket, a small energy bar. She sat on the floor near the heater, curled up like a cat. He watched her from his workbench. She didn't ask for much, didn't complain. But every time he moved, her eyes followed him, unsure if she would be sent away. "Do you want to sleep?" Ren asked gently. She nodded. He pointed to the small bed. "You can take it." "What about you?" she asked, voice soft. "I've slept on the floor before," he said, managing a small smile. She climbed onto the bed carefully, as if afraid it might vanish. Within minutes, she was asleep. Ryan stayed awake. He looked at the now empty crate in the corner. Someone had sent her here. Someone had known she'd be safer with a human than with anyone else. But why him, and how long before they came looking? The next morning, Luma was still asleep. Ren made coffee and sat at his bench, thinking. He had two choices. He could turn her in, pretend he didn't know anything, let the system deal with her, or he could protect her, even if it meant running, hiding, breaking the quiet life he'd built. He looked back at the bed. Luma's face was calm now, peaceful, but her hands were still clenched, even in sleep. All right, he whispered to himself, one step at a time. He didn't know what would come next, but he knew one thing. He wouldn't let them take her again. Luma woke slowly. The soft light from the single window made patterns on the metal floor. Her body still felt weak. Her mind, too full of shadows to think clearly. She looked around. The small room was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's systems. The warmth from the heater made her skin tingle. Ian was already awake. He sat at his workbench, fixing a small drone that had lost its left wing. His movements were careful, quiet. Luma watched him. There was no fear in her eyes anymore, only curiosity. Good morning, Ren said without looking up. You slept well. Luma nodded slowly. Thank you. Ren smiled faintly. The first real one she had seen. You're safe here, he said again. I want to understand. Where did you come from? She looked down. The question felt heavy. My home was a place with forests and light. But it is gone, she said. They took us, many. They kept us in cages, like animals. They called us meat. Her voice cracked slightly. She swallowed hard. And stopped working on the drone. Meat? He asked softly. Yes, she said. To them, we were only food, property, something to be sold or used. I escaped before they took me to the market. Ren's hands clenched. For a moment, but he stayed calm. Why did they want to sell you? He asked carefully. They said we were rare. Some wanted to eat us because of the stories. Some wanted to keep us as trophies, Luma explained. I was scared, Ren thought, about the people he had met on the station. Some were cruel. Many were greedy. The universe was full of dangers. But this was something worse. Luma's eyes searched his face. Why do you help me? You do not owe me. Ren paused. He didn't have an easy answer. Maybe. No. One should be treated like that. He finally said. Maybe someone has to care. Luma looked away. Embarrassed, she was not used to kindness. The quiet was broken by a soft beep from the door panel. Ren stood quickly and moved to the window. Outside, the station's quarters were still empty. He turned back to Luma. It might be safe for now, but not for long. I need to know more if I'm going to help you. Luma nodded and took a deep breath. She began to tell her story, slow and broken, as if the words were painful to say. Her people, the Niliri, lived on a distant planet called Velisara. It was a peaceful world, filled with tall trees and bright skies. The Niliri were gentle and curious, with soft blue skin and eyes that shone like stars. But one day, warships came. They were huge, loud, and full of weapons. They took many of the Niliri, capturing the young and the old alike. The few who escaped spread stories of horror. Luma was born in a cage. She never knew the force of Velisara or the warmth of sunlight on her skin. Instead, she grew up behind bars where cold metal replaced trees and harsh voices replaced songs. They kept us locked in small spaces, she said. We had little food. They tested us, trained us to obey. Ren listened, heart heavy. He had heard stories like this before, but never met anyone who lived it. Why did you run away? He asked. They took me to the market, Luma whispered. I knew if I went, I would never come back. So I waited for a chance. One night, when the guards were distracted, she slipped away. She hid in cargo containers, ran through empty halls, and finally escaped the trading ship. But she had nowhere to go. That's how I came here, she said, looking at Ren. In the crate, hoping someone would help. Ren nodded slowly. I'm glad you found me. After a long silence, Ren spoke again. I don't know much about the Niliri, but I do know that no one should be treated like property. Luma looked up, hope shining in her eyes. You believe me? Ren smiled again. I believe you, and I will protect you. Luma's shoulders relaxed for the first time since she arrived, but Ren added. I don't know if that will be easy. They both knew it was true. The space station was large and busy. Someone would look for her. Someone would come with questions, or worse, Dire Ian stood and moved to the small cupboard. He pulled out a worn cloth and began to clean his tools. We need to prepare, he said quietly. If anyone comes, I need you to stay hidden. Luma nodded, her eyes full of determination. Can you help me fix this? Ren asked, holding up the broken drone wing. Luma smiled faintly and reached for a small tool. Her fingers were still weak, but steady. As they worked together, Ren realized something important. Luma was not just scared and broken. She was smart. She was strong in ways he hadn't seen yet. Later, Ren made a small meal of synthetic protein bars and water. They ate in silence, the quiet space filled only with soft chewing sounds afterward. Luma looked at him and asked, Do you have a name for this place? Ren smiled. I call it home. Even if it's just a small room on a big station, Luma's eyes shone with a mix of sadness and hope. Maybe I can help you keep it safe, Ren nodded. Maybe you already have. That night, Ren stayed awake a little longer. He stared out the window, watching ships come and go through the station. Somewhere out there were people who wanted to capture Luma again, but somewhere else. Maybe there were people who still believed in kindness, people like Ren. He looked back at Luma, sleeping peacefully. For the first time, he felt something new. Quiet hope. Tomorrow, they would face the unknown together. The station's lights flickered dimly as the long night stretched on. Ren and Luma moved carefully inside the small room, each step quiet on the cold metal floor. They both knew that danger could arrive at any moment, but for now, they had this small sanctuary. Ian sat at his workbench, running his hands over a broken drone wing. Luma stood nearby, watching closely. Though she was still weak, her eyes shone with a new fire. A will to learn, to survive. Can you show me how to fix this? Ren asked, holding up the drone part. Luma nodded. Yes, I want to help. The two bent over the workbench, hands moving carefully, learning to work together. For Ren, this was more than fixing a broken machine. It was about building trust. Something rare on station THA-3. The next morning, Ren opened the small window shutters to let in the weak light of the station's artificial sun. Outside, the hum of activity buzzed faintly. People moved quickly in the halls, but none had come to his door. We have to be careful, Ren said, but maybe it's safe for a little while. Luma wrapped a thin cloth around her shoulders. I want to learn more, she said. I do not want to be weak, Ren smiled. You are already strong, but strength comes from knowledge. Together, they began to explore the broken drones and machines Ren had collected over the years. He taught Luma how to read the strange symbols on the control panels, how to connect wires, how to listen to the machine's soft beeps and hums. She learned quickly, faster than Ren expected. Why do you work with these machines? Luma asked one day. Ian shrugged. Because they never judge. They don't ask why I'm here. They just need to be fixed. Luma nodded thoughtfully. I like that. As days passed, the bond between them grew stronger. Ren showed Luma simple human habits. How to eat with utensils, how to clean clothes, how to rest without fear. Luma shared stories too, about her people, about Vilasara's forests and rivers. Ren listened with wide eyes. He imagined a world so different from the cold metal halls of the station. One evening, Luma asked, Do you have family? Ren shook his head. No, I lost them long ago. This station is all I have. Luma's eyes softened. You are kind, Ren. You saved me. I want to return the kindness. He smiled faintly. Maybe you already have. But peace did not last. One afternoon, Ren noticed a strange figure watching the hallway outside his door. A tall alien in dark clothing, moving slowly, scanning faces. Ren's heart beat faster. Someone is looking for you, he whispered to Luma. She stood quickly, fear returning. They will find me. I can feel it. Ren thought fast. We need help. I know someone. A friend from the old resistance. He helps people escape. Luma looked puzzled. Resistance? Ren nodded. People who fight against cruelty, against trading people like objects. Luma's eyes grew bright. Can he help me? Ren took a deep breath. I will find out. That night, Ren left the small room carefully, moving through dark corridors toward a forgotten part of the station. His heart was heavy, but his steps were sure. He found an old bar hidden between metal walls. Inside, the air smelled of oil and old smoke. A few figures sat quietly, drinking small cups of bitter liquid. At the back, Ren saw the man he was looking for, Tamil, a human with gray hair and eyes sharp as a hawk. Tamil, Ren said quietly. I need your help. Tamil looked up, his gaze steady. You always come with problems, Ren. This is different, Ren said. I have someone who needs protection. They are hunted. Tamil frowned. Hunted? Who? A girl, Ren said. Luma. She's from the Naliri. They want to sell her. Tamil's eyes narrowed. That kind of business hasn't stopped. But it's dangerous. I don't care, Ren said. I just want to keep her safe. Tamil studied Ren for a long moment. All right, he said. Finally, I'll help. But you must be ready to leave. The station won't be safe for long, Ren nodded. I'm ready. Back at the room, Ren told Luma what he had learned. We can leave, he said. There are places beyond this station. Safe places. Luma looked at him, hope shining in her eyes. I want to go. Together. They packed what little they could carry. Ren grabbed his tools. Luma wrapped a small cloth around her shoulders. Before they left, Ren looked at the small window once more. We might not come back, he said quietly. Luma smiled softly. But we will survive. As they stepped into the busy corridor, Ren felt something he had not felt in a long time, a quiet hope. The path ahead was unknown, dangerous, but they would walk it together. Ren and Luma moved carefully through the crowded halls of Station Thalos 3. Their small bags weighed down with tools and food, but their steps were quick and sure. Every shadow seemed a threat. Every voice could mean trouble. Where are we going? Luma whispered, clutching Ren's arm. To meet an old friend, Ren said. Someone who knows how to help people like you. They walked past traders shouting prices for goods, aliens trading stories, and machines whirring in endless motion. But Ren's mind was on the hidden resistance network, the people who fought quietly against the cruel trade of living beings. He had heard stories of the resistance when he was younger. Once, many humans and aliens had worked together to stop the capture and sale of those like Luma. But over time, fear and danger had pushed most of them underground. Many had given up. The network was small now, scattered. But Ren hoped the spark was still alive. They reached a small, dim room behind a junkyard, hidden by piles of scrap metal and broken drones. Ren knocked on the rusted door 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door creaked open slowly. A man with gray hair and tired eyes looked out. It was Tamil, the smuggler Ren had met before. Ren, Tamil said softly. I wasn't sure you'd come. I need your help, Ren said. This is Luma. She escaped from the meat trade. Tamil's eyes studied Luma for a moment. You're brave, he said quietly. Most don't last long. Luma looked down, then met Tamil's gaze. I want to live free. Tamil nodded. That's why we're here. Inside the room were a few others. Humans and aliens alike, all quietly working on various devices or talking in low voices. This was the heart of the resistance, the quiet alliance fighting a dangerous enemy. Tamil led Ren and Luma to a corner where a large holographic map of the sector hovered in the air. Points of light blinked and moved ships, stations, patrol routes. We have been watching the traders who buy and sell beings like your kind, Tamil said. But they are smart. They use secret codes and hidden paths. Ren looked closely. Can we stop them? Tamil shook his head slowly. Not alone. But if more join us, if more resist, we can make a difference. Luma looked at the map, her eyes shining with hope. How can I help? Tamil smiled faintly. You can share your story. Teach others what you know. Help those who are still trapped. Ren felt a spark inside him. For the first time, he was not alone. Days passed. Ren and Luma worked with the network. They repaired broken drones and helped send messages to hidden allies across the stars. Luma's knowledge surprised them all. Even after all she had lost, she had not forgotten how to think, how to plan. One night, Rin and Luma sat outside the hidden room, looking up at the stars beyond the station's metal walls. "Do you think we can really change things?" Luma asked softly. Ian smiled. "We have to try. That's all anyone can do." Luma nodded. "I want to help. For those who cannot run." But danger was closer than they thought. One morning, while Rin was repairing a drone, a loud alarm echoed through the station. Red lights flashed. To Mill Rushton. "They found us. Traitors. They know about the network." Rin's heart raced. "What do we do?" Tommel's face was grim. "We move fast. We scatter. Some will escape. Others will hold the line." Luma stood up, eyes wide but steady. "I want to fight." Tommel looked at her with respect. "Then you need to be ready." Rin helped Luma gather supplies. They worked quickly, packing tools, energy bars, and small weapons designed more to disable machines than hurt people. The network members prepared to leave the hidden room. Each face was set with determination. "We fight for those who have no voice," Tommel said. "We do not give up." Rin looked at Luma, who stood beside him. Despite everything, she was no longer just a scared girl in a crate. She was part of something bigger, a quiet force of hope. As they stepped out into the corridor, the station was already alive with chaos. Security drones flew past, scanning for signs of the resistance. Rin's hands tightened around the small toolkit he carried. He looked at Luma. "Stay close," he said. Luma nodded. "I'm ready." Together, they disappeared into the maze of the station, their footsteps soft but sure. The fight had begun. Rin and Luma moved quickly through the winding corridors of Station Thalos 3. The red emergency lights cast long shadows on the walls, and the station's usual hum was replaced by urgent alarms. In hurried footsteps, they could hear voices shouting orders somewhere in the distance. The traitors and security forces were searching for them and for the rest of the resistance. "We need to find a way out," Rin said quietly, his eyes scanning every corner. Luma nodded, gripping her small bag tightly. "Where?" Rin's mind raced. "There's an old maintenance tunnel that leads outside the station. It's dangerous and dark, but it might be our best chance." Luma swallowed hard but didn't hesitate. "Let's go." The tunnels were narrow and filled with pipes, wires, and broken panels. The air smelled of dust and machine oil. Rin's footsteps echoed softly as he led the way. While Luma followed close behind, they stopped suddenly when they heard footsteps. Ahead, Rin pressed Luma against the wall, holding his breath. Two station guards passed by, talking quietly. "Did you hear about the resistance members?" One asked. "Yeah," the other replied. "They say they have an Illyri with them. The traitors want her back." Rin's heart pounded. He glanced at Luma, who looked frightened but determined. When the guards moved on, Rin whispered, "We can't stay here. Keep moving." As they moved deeper into the tunnels, Luma's voice broke the silence. "Rin, why do they want to capture me so badly?" Rin looked thoughtful. "Because your people are rare. Some believe the Illyri have special qualities, strength, intelligence, or something they want to control." Luma nodded slowly. "They do not see us as beings, only as prizes." Rin's eyes darkened. "That's why we fight." They walked on until they reached a heavy metal door, old and rusty. "This is the exit," Rin said, pushing the door. It creaked loudly. Outside, they saw the stars shining brightly beyond the station's outer wall. "Freedom," Luma whispered. But before they could step through, a loud shout came from behind. "Stop." "There they are." Rin turned to see several armed guards rushing toward them. Without hesitation, Rin grabbed Luma's hand. "Run," he shouted. They sprinted into the dark space outside the station, jumping from platform to platform. The cold air burned their lungs, but they didn't stop. Luma stumbled once, but Rin caught her. "Keep going," he urged. Behind them, the guards followed, shouting and firing warning shots. Rin scanned for a place to hide. Ahead was a maintenance ship, its ramp lowered. "Inside," Rin shouted. They dove into the ship, and Rin slammed the door shut just as the guards reached the platform. Inside, the ship was dark and silent. Ren fumbled for the control panel and powered up the engines. Can you fly? Ren asked. Turning to Luma, she looked at the controls with wide eyes. No, but I can learn. Good, Ren said with a small smile. I'll show you. The ship slowly lifted off from the station, moving into the vast blackness of space. Luma looked out the window at the stars, her heart pounding with hope and fear. Where will we go? She asked. Our Ein thought for a moment. There's a safe place, a hidden colony far from traitors and war. We will try to reach it. Luma nodded, her eyes shining. I want to live free. I want to help others too. Ren smiled. We will make sure you do. Over the next hours, Ren taught Luma how to control the ship. She learned quickly, her hands steady on the controls. But even in the quiet of space, danger was never far. Ren's scanner beeped suddenly. We're not alone. On the screen, a small ship appeared, fast and armed. Pirates, Ren said grimly. They work for the traitors. Luma's grip tightened. What do we do? Ren took a deep breath. We have to hide, he guided. The ship toward a nearby asteroid belt, a dangerous maze of rocks and debris. The pirates followed, but Ren's skill kept them safe, weaving through tight spaces. After tense minutes, the pirates gave up and left. Luma exhaled slowly. That was close, Ren nodded. Too close. But we made it. As they floated in the quiet of space, Ren looked at Luma. You're stronger than you think. She smiled softly. Because you believe in me. Ren reached out and squeezed her hand. We're not just surviving. We're fighting back. Luma's eyes gleamed. For freedom. The ship drifted silently among the stars, far from the harsh lights of Station Thalos 3. Ren and Luma sat side by side, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the ship's controls. Outside the small windows, space stretched endlessly, vast and full of unknown dangers, but also hope. Luma's hands still trembled slightly from the close escape, but her eyes were bright. She had learned so much in just a few days. How to fix machines, how to pilot a ship, how to trust someone again. Ian watched her quietly. In her, he saw something he hadn't seen for a long time, a chance for a new beginning. Days passed slowly. As they navigated through space, Ren showed Luma how to read star charts and manage the ship's systems. She listened carefully, absorbing everything like a thirsty plant soaking in sunlight. One evening, Ren turned to her. Soon, we will reach the hidden colony. It is a place where those who are hunted can find safety. Luma smiled softly. I want to believe. Ren nodded. It will not be easy, but we will try. They shared a quiet moment, looking out at the stars. But peace was fragile. The ship's alarms suddenly blared, breaking the silence. Pirates again, Ren shouted, rushing to the controls. The screen showed a fast ship closing in quickly. Luma steadied herself. Can we escape? Ren's fingers flew over the controls. We'll try. The ship dove into an asteroid field, weaving between giant rocks. The pirates followed, firing blasts that shook the hull. Luma reached out to help, holding the controls steady as Ren guided their path. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. We're hit, Ren said. Sparks flew from a damaged panel. The engines sputtered. Luma's heart raced. What now? We need to repair the engines, Ren said. Help me. Together, they worked quickly, fixing wires and replacing broken parts. Their hands moved in rhythm, a team united by hope and fear. After tense moments, the engines roared back to life. Good job, Ren said with a tired smile. Luma nodded, feeling proud. We did it. The pirates gave up the chase and disappeared into the darkness. Ian sighed in relief. That was close. Too close. Luma looked at him. But we survived, Ren smiled. Yes, and we will keep surviving. Finally, the hidden colony came into view, a small, green planet surrounded by gentle clouds and blue seas. It was a sharp contrast to the cold metal of the station and the emptiness of space. Welcome to home, Ren said softly. Luma's eyes filled with tears. It is beautiful. They landed the ship on a quiet shore where others waited, people from many worlds, all seeking refuge. The colony was simple but full of life. Gardens grew in the sunlight, children laughed, and strangers greeted each other with warmth. Luma felt hope bloom inside her. Here, she could be free. Days turned to weeks. Luma learned to live again. Walking under the open sky, feeling the grass beneath her feet, and breathing fresh air. Ren helped her find a place among the colony's people where she could teach others what she had survived. Together, they shared stories of courage and hope, building a quiet resistance against the cruel trade that had tried to break them. One evening, as the colony gathered around a fire, Luma stood and spoke softly. We were taken from our homes, sold like things, but here, we are free. Here, we are strong. The crowd listened. Moved by her words, Ren stood beside her, proud. Together, they had escaped darkness. Together, they would build a new dawn. The days on the hidden colony passed gently, but Ren and Luma knew that peace was fragile. The traders and pirates who hunted those like Luma had not forgotten them. Danger was always near, but hope was stronger. One morning, Ren woke early and looked out over the colony's green fields. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light across the land. It was a new day, a chance to build, to heal. Luma joined him quietly, her eyes bright with determination. We can't forget what happened, she said softly. But we don't have to live in fear, Ren nodded. We must protect this place, protect each other. Together, they walked through the village, greeting friends and neighbors. Children played near the water, and elders shared stories from their homes far away. The colony was small but strong. Its people were from many worlds, each carrying wounds but also hope. They worked together, building homes, planting gardens, and creating a new family. Luma found joy in teaching others, especially children who had lost their families. She showed them how to be brave, how to stand strong even when the world seemed dark. Ryan helped organize defenses. He repaired old machines and built simple devices to warn the colony if danger came. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, a scout arrived with urgent news. Traders are coming, the scout said. Breathless, they found our signal. The colony's people gathered quickly. Fear flickered in their eyes, but Ren raised his hand for silence. We knew this day might come, Ren said. We will not run. We will stand together. Luma stepped forward. We are not alone. We have each other. The traders arrived as the stars began to shine. Their ships darkened the sky, but the colony was ready. And Luma led the people to safety in hidden shelters beneath the ground. They used the machines Ren had repaired to block the traders' sensors and confuse their scanners. When the traders landed, they found nothing but empty fields and silent homes. Ian watched from a hidden ridge as the traders searched and grew frustrated. They will not break us, Ren said quietly. Days passed. The traders eventually left, frustrated and empty-handed. The colony's people emerged from their shelters, cheering softly. Luma smiled, her heart full. We did it, she said. Ian looked at her with pride. Together, life returned to the colony, stronger than before. Word of their victory spread quietly across the stars. Other hidden colonies heard the news and reached out. The resistance grew, not just a few people, but many, united by hope and courage. One clear night, Ren and Luma stood outside, looking up at the endless sky. We have come far, Ren said. From darkness to light, Luma nodded. And we will keep going. For those still lost, they held hands, their hearts full of promise. No longer hunted, no longer afraid. Together, they had found freedom. Together, they had found home.